Okay, y'all, today we're going to be talking about neighborhood letters. You know that there is not enough inventory to go around. There are not enough homes for the number of buyers we have. So we're having to get creative with finding homes for our buyers. So I personally have some clients who are looking for a mid-century modern home. That is what they want. Yesterday, I sent them a home and they said, well, that is definitely mid-century, but it is not modern. And I said, okay, I will keep trying. No problem. So I'm looking for a needle in a haystack. There's already low inventory. Mid-century modern homes do exist in the Roanoke Valley, but they are not a dime a dozen. We do not have a ton of them. If they wanted just a plain brick ranch or a split foyer, bring it on. I could sell them one of those, even in this market. So we're having to keep a very, very sharp eye out for what they're looking for. And what I did is I tried to involve them in the process as well. So I asked them to get in the car, ride around neighborhoods that I know happen to have that style of home in it, out in the Hollins area, a few in Southwest County, more in Southwest City. And I asked them if they would just start riding around and seeing if they can spot some pockets of mid-century modern homes that would interest them, neighborhoods they'd be willing to live in, subdivisions that they would want to, move to, and then to send me a list of addresses. So when they sent me the list of addresses, then I sent off letters. So I included the letter in your email today, but all it says is, Dear Ms. Golding, and this is a fake letter, y'all. Dear Ms. Golding, hello. I am Ashley Wainwright Donahue with Wainwright & Co. Realtors, a locally owned real estate company. I am not writing to solicit your real estate business if you are currently working with an agent, but I have a purchaser who is looking for a home in your neighborhood. After feeling frustrated with the lack of homes available, I asked them to provide me with a few addresses in the neighborhood that seemed to fit their needs most closely. Your beautiful home was at the top of their list. Again, I am not writing to you to interfere with your professional relationship with another real estate agent you may be working with, but instead, I'm curious if you see yourself putting your home on the market in the next 6 months. Please reach out to me if you wish to further discuss, or even if you are just interested in what your home may be worth in this whirlwind market. I look forward to hearing from you. Warmly, me. So I could send out 20 of these and receive absolutely no response. I'm going to be happy if I get one response from somebody who says, I'd be interested to know what my house would be worth. And that's for twofold reasons. One, perhaps it will work for my buyer. And if it does, I would handle that transaction like a for sale by owner. I would certainly recommend to the seller that they have an agent that is not me, work with them, at least an agent who is not me, helping them figure out what the value of their home is. So the first thing I'm going to do is see if that home works for my buyer, because my buyer is my client. That seller is not my client. They are a customer. My only obligation to them is to treat them honestly. And it is honest to say that to them, I do not want to do dual agency. I do not want to come in here representing my buyer and tell you what I think the value of your home is. Because if I tell you a price too low, under market value, that's helping my buyer, but harming the seller. And if I tell you a value that is maybe too high for market value, that's going to harm my buyer, who I already represent. So if you already represent a client in the transaction, do not represent the other party to the transaction. Instead, I would tell this seller, great, I'm so glad you called me. First things first, may I bring my buyer by and can we take a tour and see if the home is right for them? And this is important. You must ask for commission prior to showing the home. So I would, as part of that conversation, say, also, have you considered paying a real estate agent? If this buyer does decide to purchase the home, would you be willing to extend an offer of compensation to me for bringing this buyer to you? It could either be a flat fee or a percentage of the sale. You and I could discuss that, seller, prior to me bringing the buyer to the home. And if they say no, that's okay. I'm going to say, okay, that's all right. If the buyer is willing to pay my commission, would you allow that to be built into the contract so they can use their mortgage for the entire transaction. And they most likely will say, as long as it doesn't cost me any money, or as long as it doesn't involve me, that's fine. So then you have to go back to your buyer and say, hey, buyer, I know we executed an exclusive right to represent buyer agreement where I said the seller would pay my commission. In this case, I have found a home for you that I think would be perfect for you. I'd like to take you to go see it. I will take you to go see it. But can we alter or amend the exclusive right to represent buyer agreement to build in a caveat that if the seller is not willing to pay me, you guys would be willing to pay me, but we will build it into the purchase contract. It will not be any out-of-pocket money for you. It will become part of the transaction. Most likely they're going to say, sure, Ashley, we certainly don't want you to do this for free. Okay. If they say, yes, I'd like for you to do it for free, I have bad news for you. You are probably doing it for free, because if you have signed an exclusive right to represent buyer agreement and you have said, I'll be paid by the seller, and they want a home that is not paid by the seller, your exclusive right to represent buyer agreement does not say I'll represent you unless I don't get paid. Now you can put that in your exclusive right to represent buyer agreement. You can say to be paid by seller in cases in which the seller is unwilling to pay compensation. You can say buyer will pay compensation up to blah, blah, blah. Or you can say this exclusive right to represent buyer agreement shall become null and void. Okay. You can write something into your exclusive right to represent buyer agreement. I have found that when you write things like that in, it does spook the buyer. And quite frankly, I'm going to work a cheap or free deal every once in a while, because that is what my buyer needs in that case. Now, Jennifer had a circumstance just recently where the buyer found a for sale by owner and was like, Jennifer, I don't want to cut you out. And she was like, listen, this market is nuts. Cut me out. It's totally fine. They mutually agreed that she would not represent him anymore, and he would go pursue that for sale by owner on his own. So she asked him, hey, I don't want to do it for free. You're just going to have to build my expense into that for sale by owner. The for sale by owner is not willing to pay commission. Go for it. Just go get it. And she was willing to do that. Now he is going to remember that, and he is going to refer clients to her. So even if you end up discounting your commission or doing it for a flat fee, or representing them for free because you are representing them, you have an exclusive right to represent buyer agreement, then it will come back to pay you back later. Stay in touch with that client, represent them as well as you ever would. And it really will, that good karma will come back to you, and they'll refer people to you, or they'll go to sell the home with you later. Now, Miki had a question. I'm going to open up the chat box here. She says, if the home doesn't appraise with the commission added to the purchase, how does that affect the way your commission is paid? Well, you know my favorite answer. It depends. So it depends on whether you've made the contract contingent upon the appraisal or not. So if you're doing a government-backed loan, FHA, USDA, VA, VHDA, then you're going to be using the standard clauses addendum, and you're going to make it contingent upon the appraisal. So essentially, if the appraisal has a shortfall, it comes in below purchase price, that would be just like any purchase where it comes in short the purchase price. So you would you'd have to look to the contract to see what it says. And if you're doing a government-backed loan, then that standard clauses addendum says that the buyer doesn't have to buy the property. Now, could you decide to, just like any transaction where the appraisal comes in low, you can call me and we can decide if you want to forfeit some of your commission. It is not my recommendation. We have value. We work hard for our value. However, I also understand that it's painful to watch our buyers lose a transaction over a $1,500 appraisal shortfall. I get it. You just call me. Okay. If you have not made the contract contingent upon an appraisal, first, why not? Why are you not making the contract contingent upon the appraisal? And so if you've written a conventional loan purchase and you have not made it contingent upon an appraisal, and the appraisal comes in low, we've discussed this on other calls, I believe your buyer could be in breach of contract because they have agreed that they will bring the settlement costs that are required to closing. And that would include an appraisal shortfall. So I think you need to call me if that happens. Yep. I hope that answered your question, Miki. So I'd like to find out if what y'all think of the letter. Have you used letters like this in the past? Do you see the value in a letter like this in a market like this? And I sent out about 8 of them recently and didn't get boo back about it. So now I'm following up with a handwritten note that's going to be hand delivered to these homes. So, we'll see what happens. Would anybody like to chime in and let me know if they've ever used one of these, if they can see where they might fit it into their business model? Okay, no big thing. We will keep moving. So this letter, I attached it as a PDF. You can very easily, I'm not going to send it to you as a Word doc because it's very little to retype. So just use the PDF, retype it, customize it, make it suit your needs. It is important, as you can see, that I put in there twice that I'm not trying to solicit business from an existing agency relationship. That is important to say. Okay, this letter is not intended to poach you from another agent who they're currently working with. And Jessie says she's written 2 of those before, but gotten no response. Yeah, it's absolutely like cold calling. It's just a numbers game. You're hoping somebody out there says, I have been interested in selling my home. I think it's important that you consider that if you're going to do a typed letter like this, it needs to be followed up on with a handwritten note. And Jessie's saying it meant a lot to her clients, though. Yeah, that you were just trying to find them a house. You're willing to do what it takes. So, and Jessie says, and I know people get a lot of junk mail with the We Buy Ugly Houses postcards and whatnot. Yeah, they do. They get a lot of junk mail. So this is what I'll say. I want you to consider these letters the same way you would consider cold calling. You would never dream of calling a cold call one time and never, ever, ever calling them again, never touching base again, never reaching out a second time. The letters are the same way. You're not sending a letter and saying, well, okay, now I've done it and now they're going to immediately call me. No, it is touch after touch after touch, and it's got to have some variety to it. So you start with a form letter like this. Now I have absolutely customized it to the person and the circumstances. You absolutely are also going to reach back out to them with a handwritten note, and those should be hand delivered, stuck in the door. You should absolutely then follow up with something else that is hand delivered or another mail option. Maybe then it's time to do a postcard. So you may want to consider your branding and make sure there is some common thread through all of those touches to make sure that they understand that's all been from the same person. Because Jessie's right. People are getting a lot of junk mail now about selling their home. And guess what? You are also junk mail if they don't want to sell their home. So it's easy to think, but I'm important. They need to read my letter. Well, listen, I own just a few investment properties, and I get those postcards all the time because they know I don't live there. That is junk mail to me. I'm not selling those homes, but they don't think it's junk mail. They think I've got a valuable offer to give you on that home you're not living in, Ashley. And so it is in the eye of the beholder, isn't it? The other thing that I want to see if you noticed, and this was very, very subtle, but it was very deliberate. I did not gender my client. So I know there's been conversation about accidentally creating fair housing violations. Gender is a protected class. We cannot discriminate based on gender. So when I wrote this, I don't think you noticed. I don't think you noticed that I used non-gendered pronouns in here. I just said, in the neighborhood that seemed to fit their needs most closely, right? This seller does not need to know the gender of my client. This seller does not need to know the age of my client because elderliness is a protected class in the state of Virginia. So you do not want to accidentally create any fair housing violations or the optics of a fair housing violation. That's why those buyer love letters have become dangerous. and it's tempting because they work. Every time in the past that I submitted a letter written by my clients with adorable photos of them and their puppy dog, we had a better chance of getting that house. We humanized our offer. I get it, but we have to be careful about fair housing violations and unintentional consequences of when we use those buyer love letters. So that is just a subtle thing. I didn't even know if y'all had noticed or not. No political agenda whatsoever. Just trying to keep myself out of realtor jail. That's it. Okay. So let's talk about creating and customizing your own scripts. Okay. So what I want to do now is I want to share my screen with you guys, and I want to show you a resource I've been using. So let me get that turned on here. All right, sharing my screen. Okay. If you are on Facebook, you are probably familiar with Lab Coat Agents. It is a Facebook group chock-a-block full of real estate agents across the entire country. And they share resources and they share hilarious real estate related memes, and they just get in there in the comments and sometimes have problematic discussions about, antitrust things every once in a while. Anytime you get a gigantic group of realtors together, antitrust is always going to be a huge concern of mine. Antitrust is when any decision makers decide to do something that could harm someone else or another person. So anytime they get in there and they start complaining about this, that, or the other, and everybody piles on about it, that could be an antitrust violation. But there is a ton of value in that giant Facebook group. And one thing that has come out of it is they have created a premium version of the experience, if you will. I think I pay, Jennifer can correct me, maybe $39 a month, $36 a month for this. And this is a website for the premium paid membership with Lab Coat Agents. So there is going to be all sorts of stuff in here for me. And for me, as someone who is a content creator for you guys, and I know that is a cringy word, content creator, that's what I'm doing. I'm creating training for y'all. I try to hit all of the subject matter that you guys need to know, from social media to how to stay out of realtor jail to how to use CRMs, all of that. So this for me is a way to just come in and remind myself what topics I should be touching on, and making sure I'm giving you guys a big whole overview of real estate in general. So they have mastermind sessions. They're little mini mastermind sessions. They're excellent. This is an inside sales agent. So this is where you'll start to pick up some of the lingo. What is an inside sales agent? Well, that's just somebody who cold calls all day, every day. And let me see, I think we might've had something in the chat window. All right. Oh, well, that's nice. Jess, thank you so much. She's just talking about how I am strategic about the content creating. That is true. I want you guys to have all the resources available. So one thing, when we started talking about scripts last week, I was like, you know what? I'm going to hop on and I'm going to see if they've got any scripts here, because the nice thing about Lab Coat Agents Premium is they just share everything. So you can go right over here to the search Lab Coat Agents Premium site, and I could just say scripts. That's it. Just scripts for cold calling, scripts for talking to people at open houses, whatever. And you can see that there are lots of search results here. I've got valuable outgoing referral scripts. I have successful scripts to use. I have dialogues and scripts from Tristan, and Tristan is one of the co-founders of Lab Coat Agents. And I see that this is in the templates library. So and down below is the other co-creator of Lab Coat Agents, or co-founder. And that is, this email script gets replies. Try it with leads in your database that you haven't previously connected with or have gone silent for 30 days. Lots and lots of stuff here. Yes, we all do. Do you suck at follow-up? Yes, we all do. It's human nature. That is the part of our job that feels uncomfortable, right? So sometimes if you go in there and she's got 8 rules for making sure you do follow-up, sometimes if you can put a process in place where okay, well, I got to do my 8 steps. Okay, I stall out every time on step 3. Why do I keep stalling out on step 3? Then you're able to put something in place. It's all about looking at your behavior. And if your behavior is not getting you to that end goal, you've got to do something else. You've got to put something else in place that will help you get over that speed bump that you seem to keep hitting. Again, y'all know I say this is not high level rocket science thinking here, y'all. It's just making sure you do what you know you're supposed to do. So if I go into this templates library, let's go dialogues and scripts. I'll go into the templates library. Also, this subscription, this membership is a monthly membership. So I did not sign on for a whole year. I pay it every month. If you want to join, go in, harvest loads of stuff and get out. You know, that's something you certainly can do. If I go here and I say, let's preview the dialogues and scripts. So I'm going to click that. And I can see that the dialogue document contains scripts for just expireds, old expireds, online leads, FSBOs, which is for sub owners, past clients and sphere of influence, circle prospecting, door knocking, open houses, text compilations. Y'all know I'm not about reinventing the wheel. I'm about customizing the wheel. So we're going to look at this real quick. I'm going to download it. And we're going to open it up and take a look. And as a member of this group, this is here for me to use. This is here for me to take a look at, customize, completely rework for myself. So here's the table of contents. We go down through and here are the scripts. So this is for phone calls. This is new expireds, freshly expired. It's going to walk you all the way through it. I find these way more authentic than some of the old stuff that's been floating around the internet. Okay. And then at the end, you've got a, let me get to the end of this one because it takes you all the way through at each eventuality. We aren't going to relist now. We're going to relist with the existing agent. And then it gives you advice. You can interchange this with the old expired script later. So then you can bump into the old expired script and you keep going, keep going, keep going. And through the table of contents, you can go to wherever you want to go. This is online leads, right? We go through the online leads. You want to practice these. And there are 2 options here, okay? So you want to practice, practice, practice on these. You want this to feel fluid for you. I will tell you, unless you have signed up for call leads and you have worked, 200 realtor.com phone call leads, you do not get good at this. This is one of those things that you're only going to get good at by practicing, by taking the time to reach out to cold calls and just work through the language. So if you are not currently receiving leads, I do believe leads and paid for leads, either upfront cost or referral based leads, those really they should be a part of your business model. They should not be all of your business model. It's tempting to say, well, I'll just buy leads, then I don't have to do any of the cringy business of like going out and finding people. No, you need to have that as part of your business. You need to diversify how you are getting business. You should be getting business from past clients. You should be getting business from groups you belong to. You should be getting clients from some sort of lead program. You should be getting clients organically from your social media accounts. And when you have leads coming in from 5, 6, 7 buckets, then you have a more diversified flow of business that when realtor.com changes their business practice, or Zillow changes their business practice, or OpCity goes up on their referral fee, you're not hit at the knees, okay? Because you can then lean harder on some of your other buckets that you have leads coming in from. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for now. Possibly. All right, y'all. Okay, so that is scripts. Those are there. You can certainly count on me for reworking some of them and then bringing them to you guys, because I certainly will be doing that. If you guys have scripts you currently use, Amy Ryder is generously working on some scripts, and she is willing to share those with me, which I think is very generous. So who on the call has scripts, uses scripts, works through them, has thought about them? Can we open it up for some dialogue about scripts, pretty please? Or y'all just wanting to look more on that Lab Code Agents Premium, see what else is in there? I've completed lots of master classes, mini master classes in there. They really are, you get a little something out of every one of them. You really do. And because it's a nationwide offering, it's obviously not training like I'm going to bring to you, like how to represent buyers here, how to fill out the forms, how to do all the Roanoke centric type things or the Smith Mountain Lake centric type things. It's going to be more generic, like sales training, but it is tailored to real estate, the topic of real estate. Okay, who has questions? Who wants to talk about scripts? Who has scripts they're willing to share with us? Anybody? Okay. Last week we went 20 minutes over because everybody had so much to share. You guys are quiet this morning. Okay.
Hey,
so,
Ashley.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Kathy Baker. Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. This isn't really a script, but I was wondering if anybody used like marketing proposal type document in addition to the CMA that is available on MLS.
So what does your marketing proposal have in it?
I have an old one that I've had for years, and it just sort of has a picture of the house on the front, and then it just says, you know, what I would do for them and list like the different jobs and then what they should do to prepare their house for sale and, you know, the price range and things like that in it.
Yes, I would consider that as part of like a larger listing package for sure.
Right. Okay, that might be what it's, yes.
Yeah, I use one of those. I'm happy to pull it up and show you what I use. Let me get there. So let me share my screen one more time. Good question, Kathy. So if you go to the Wainwright & Co. Google Drive, there is a section. So we've got Wainwright & Co. Realtors Resources, but if you go to listing presentation, I have a blank copy of a listing presentation that you can download and you can customize to yourself. So here I have your own personal resume page. So you can put in what clubs and organizations and realtors associations you belong to, what your relocation experience might be, what your number of sales per the year you were licensed might be. And then there's a spot for your photo. But then I also have, Kathy, right below that is Cornerstones of Successfully Marketed Homes. So this is where I talk about essentially what is my style as the listing agent, what is my style of marketing that I'm going to apply to this home. So it's going to include comparative market analysis, expertly interpreted to result in a strong market value price recommendation, professionally shot and edited interior and exterior photos of the home. Oh, I got to change that because I used to use the Roanoke Magazine professional photographer, but he has since retired from taking real estate photos. Professionally shot drone photography, professionally shot virtual tour of the home, social media organic posts and boosted posts. And then I've got marketing day 1, marketing day 1, marketing day 3 through 5, marketing day 5 through 7, and marketing day 7. And then that is my successfully marketed homes list. But then I also have a 30-day marketing plan right behind that. I'm sort of a kill them with information kind of person.
Right.
So what I want to do is I want them to come out of their meeting with me and go, holy moly, okay, she's thought of everything. Like, because I think what sellers want to know is, okay, so listing agent perspective, you have told us that you will sell our home. You perhaps have told us at what price you will sell our home, but you have not told us how you're going to sell our home. So when I explain how I'm going to sell their home, and then I talk to them about what my fee will be, it is much harder for them to argue because it is no longer an abstract thing. Like, why don't you pay me X dollars and I'll just sell your home? You don't need to worry about the details. You just need to agree to this price. So instead, I've laid out so much value in my listing presentation that by the time I tell them what the price is going to be, I really don't have anybody balk at that. And then, of course, I include testimonials, and then I include a page for signature sales. I will tell you, this signature sales page changes. It obviously gets updated every year, but more importantly, I will update those homes that I'm putting on my signature sales page according to the client. If this is an interview to list 5 investment properties for an investor, these homes are not going to look like this. I'm going to go back into what I've sold, and I'm going to look and see what might resonate more with my target audience, which is the person I'm trying to get a listing from. So if they have a property at the lake, I'm going to look back through my portfolio and see what lake homes I've sold. If they are going to sell investment properties, that's what I'm going to go back through my sale portfolio and look for. I'm going to customize this to the audience. Now, it may be effective if I don't customize it, but it's going to be much more effective if they go, oh my gosh, okay, that looks like my house that I'm getting ready to sell. It validates me even more. If they're getting ready to sell a brick colonial with me, I'm going to have a brick colonial from my past sales on this page, because it makes them go, ooh, that's like ours. She sold that. I automatically get some extra validation, even if it's subconscious, because I've already done the job I'm asking them to let me do again. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing that. Excellent question, Kathy. Anybody have any follow-up questions about that?
Say that's on the Google Docs drive.
Yes, ma'am. And we have links to that all over the place. I tell you what I'll do when I send out the quick tool today, which is an email I'll send out with the new YouTube video. I'll put a button you can click on that'll take you straight to the Google Drive. And I'll just start like at the bottom of every one of those emails you get from me that have fancy pictures and look really pretty. Those come out of Constant Contact. That's the application I use, and I can put buttons on there. I already have a permanent link to our Facebook group. I have a permanent link to the YouTube channel. I'll stick a permanent link on there to the Google Drive. And then you can just go find any of those emails you got from me, quick tip or quick tool, and you should be able to click the button and go right to the Google Drive.
Okay. All right. That sounds great. Thank you.
Great question. Thanks for asking. Anybody else have anything else? It's gorgeous outside. We can end early and just go lay on the grass for a few minutes.